Okay, so we will briefly discuss nuances connected with let, with var, local and global scopes that we're going to discuss here. So once again, when defining a variable, for example, let x equals 3, we typically prefer using the let keyword. We can certainly use the var keyword, and then let's just say go console.log x. Now, let's just print this out. And just to make the console bigger, you have to press control and then plus. Control plus, so you go to your plus sign and your control key, and you place control plus just to make this bigger. Let me just make it smaller. You go control minus. Hopefully, you can see that's a 3. Okay. So var is typically unpredictable, right? Var can only be localized within a function. So what does this mean? It means it can be local within a function. So for example, best way to demonstrate this, let rather I is equal to 0. So counter variable, if you recall, I less than 3, I plus plus, right? So the code within the for loop should run approximately 3 times. So I'm just going to say let var y is equal to 3, or let's just say 5, just to differentiate it from x. And then here I can say console.log y. So I'm just going to refresh here, see what happens. Let's go control minus here. There we go. So 3 and 5 are both displayed. However, this should not be the case because we declared and defined y here within the for loop block scope. So that's what's wrong with var. Typically, this is why we don't prefer it nowadays, because it's unpredictable. Its behavior is unpredictable. But if I said let y equal to 5, now let's see what happens. Now we got it. We get an error. So it displays 3, which is to be expected from this line. However, it does not display this one because it's not recognized outside of this block scope. Now, this block scope is denoted or indicated by these 2 curly braces, right? So when you look at control structures, you usually open and close braces like this, right? So this will be a block scope. So this can only be visible within a block scope. So that means I can only display it within this code block here. So I'm going to copy and paste it with this console.log within this code block here. And if I refresh now, see now it's displaying, and it's displaying 3 times because it's within a loop control structure. The only thing that var is local to is a function control block control structure. For example, so function display message, let's say we'll call this function, and we'll say var z is equal to 9, right? And now if I go console.log and I'm going to console.log z outside of this block scope here, now I'm going to see what happens actually. See, there's an error now. Now it's only local within the function scope and only within the function scope. All other control blocks, while loops, for loops, do while loops, it is global. It can be used globally, right, outside of the block scope. However, with the function, and only with the function, can it be localized. So that's why we use let. Let is just easier, right? With let, it's just consistent and predictable. So now let's talk about global variables. Global variables are defined outside of functions, right? So within the script tag, outside of a code block here. And they can be modified within the code block at any given time, so they can be used globally. So let me just show you how this works. Let's just say in this function, I say x is equal to z plus 9. Let me just say x plus z. And then I'm going to console.log x. See what the outcome is. So the outcome in this particular case, let me just remove this. Excuse me. So let's just go here. So I'm getting 3 here. But why am I getting 3? Because I did not call this function, right? So in order to get this result, I have to call this function display message. So now I'm executing the block of code that is within this function by calling it like this. So let's go here. Now we get 12 because 9 plus 3 is 12. And I can continue to modify within a given block of code, and it will modify the variable continually, right, outside of the block scope. Hopefully this makes sense. But with a local variable, you cannot modify it outside of its given block scope. So Z here would be localized to this function and will not be recognized outside of the function. Again, if I go control.log Z, you see, it cannot be found because it is outside. It has been declared and defined outside of this block function, of this display function, display message function. And of course, when we're talking about declaration and defining of variables, I can just say let x equals let b equals 12, for example. This is called defining a function. However, if I said let b, this is called declaration because we have not stored a value within the variable. So it's just an important distinction. B is equal to 12, right? Console.log b, for example. Now, let's just see if b works. So b comes along, and of course we still have this error because z is only visible within this block of code. Here I could just say x. And of course, here it should work. Should be 2 12s now. 2 12s, 2 12s, because it's displaying both b, which is 12, and x, which is 12, after this function call. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So this is called declaration, where we do not use the assignment operator to assign a value to b. But what happens if it's not assigned? Let's see what happens. What displays here? It's undefined. So it's been declared. That means there's no definition yet. There's no value that has been stored yet. So when I console.log it, it is undefined. Hopefully that makes sense. And the important thing another important nuance with you dealing with let and var is that var can be redefined. So x is equal to 4, for example. Var x equals 4. Console.log. X is, and then I'm just going to put 4 here. I mean x here, right? And now let's just see here. So here we have a bit of a syntactical error, console.log, right? And of course, good practice is to put a semicolon towards the end of a statement. And there we go. X is 4. That means I could redefine it. However, you can't do this with let. You get an error, let, and then let. Now we said let x is equal to 3, let x is equal to 4. Let's see what happens here. You get an error. You can't redefine the x variable. You can't redefine it, right? In order to change the value, you have to remove the let keyword. And now we say x equals 4. So now x must be reassigned this value 4 like this without the let keyword, without redefining it. There we go. So x is 4 now. And once again, this let keyword allows for more predictability, and it's safer, right? And it's certainly more preferred in modern standards and practice. So that's how that works. So local variables are within function or within block scopes. That means when you're dealing with control structures, you place local variables within these 2 curly braces. Global variables are placed outside of functions within the script tag, right? So this will be global, and this can be modified at any point during the program, and it will stay the same, or it will keep that value, right? With local variables, you have to redefine them each time. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you very much.